drink beer for breakfast. All I want to do is drink beer for breakfast.
KFAM News Time 7:42. It's Thursday morning. It's 7:40, and that means the first edition Beer Geek is on the air. The Beer Geek loves craft beer and history, and today we get both as we head live to Corvallis and welcome in Tia Edmunson-Morton, who runs the Oregon Hops and Brewing Archives at Oregon State University. Tia, welcome to KPAM.
Thank you.
Now, the Beer Geek knows all about the fermentation science program in Corvallis, but the archives are new to me, and this is something you started.
I did about a little over 2 years ago.
So preserving the history, the recent history of craft beer, is that what this is all about?
Well, it's both craft beer, but also hops and agriculture. And I should say initially we said craft beer, but then honestly what people want to know about is pre-prohibition. So I've learned about that as well.
And why is it important to archive this?
Well, I think there are lots of reasons. As archivists, we're always looking at ways to support deep historical research, and sometimes that means saving scientific records, but it also means saving the records of communities. And craft beer is a really, really important part of our local and regional identity, and so it was kind of a no-brainer with all the work that's been going on for so long at OSU for us to establish something like this at the library.
So what sort of things are you collecting?
We collect a lot of different types of things. It's a community-based collecting initiative, so I often punt it back to the community and the industries and say, what's important to you to tell your story? So we do have things like coasters and posters. I have a few beer koozies. I have ephemeral items, so things that you would pick up. But we also do a lot of oral histories. We would love to have a really robust library of things like brewing sheets and, of course, organizational records, kind of anything that just tells the story of the businesses in the community. And that's definitely a really broad set of materials. So lots of different things.
Well, wouldn't it be really cool to see a brewing sheet from, for instance, when Rob and Kurt Widmer were brewing their first batch of beer? That would be awesome to see.
It is awesome, yeah. And we actually have digitized the first probably 2000 from McMiniman's Hillsdale pub. So I did not digitize the first brew sheet because it's on the wall still in their Hillsdale pub, but I have digitized number 2 through 1800.
Wow. That's fantastic.
It is. It's very cool.
So is this something that, just if you're not a researcher, if you're just a beer geek, a beer lover, a history lover, can see some of this stuff?
Sure. Well, we are an archive, so there is the paper in boxes element to the archive, but because this is such a visual set of materials, there are lots of ththings to look at as well.
Now,
and yes, anyone can use it.
Oh, very cool.
We just ask that you come when we're open. That's it.
Can you peek at some of the stuff online?
Sure, for sure. So there are lots of different ways to see what we're doing. If you Google the Oregon Hops and Brewing Archives, we're the only one. So we end up at the top of the Google results list. And then you can link to all of our social media from there, and digital collections and Flickr photos. So lots of ways to see what we're doing.
We're talking with Tia Edmunson-Morton, who is with the Oregon Hops and Brewing Archives down at OSU in Corvallis. Now, one of the reasons we've got you on the show this morning is you have a crowdfunding effort underway to support what you're doing. Talk a little bit about that. Yeah,
it's pretty exciting. So we're about halfway through our campaign, and we're maybe about 40% of the way towards our $5,000 goal. It's exciting to see the different ways that we get to talk about what we do, and also to really engage the community to help us out. It goes without saying that we have an enormous state. There are a lot of breweries, and so traveling around that state to talk to people is something that I get to do, which I feel really fortunate, and I feel really fortunate that I have a library that supports me, but it can get expensive. So we're asking for some support for travel. I also work with a lot of students, and it's a cool thing for students to engage with, as you can imagine. And we do a lot of scanning of materials And so supporting those students to help us out with scanning is another aspect of what we're asking support for. And finally, we like to talk about what we're doing and share what we're doing. So we do love to have events. And again, events cost money. So we're asking for some support for that as well.
If you look at the crowdfunding page, you got some examples here. $25 will cover the cost of scanning and uploading 25 historic photos. $100, for instance, will cover the travel costs you mentioned for conducting one of those oral histories that's very important with the brewer, hop grower, or community member. So, it just takes a couple bucks to support what you're doing.
It really does. It's kind of amazing to me when I look at my budget at the end of every year and what I've spent, how much we're able to do with so little money. So yes, it definitely, every little bit helps. And we're giving examples of what things cost, but there are certainly lots of other things that could be included at that $25 and $50 and $100 level.
Oh, it's very cool. Thank you for making the history of beer exciting.
Not a problem.
And thanks for coming on the show. We look forward to you hitting your goal of $5,000.
Thank you very much.
That is Tia Edmunson-Morton with the Oregon Hops and Brewing Archives down at Oregon State University in Corvallis. All the information about their crowdfunding effort up on my blog at kpam.com by the end of the show. I'll put a link up on Facebook, and you can also follow the Beer Geek on Twitter at Tim Hull, #BeerGeek.